Good evening. This time we'll speak about Tisha B'Av. This year we have Motzei Shabbos, first day of the week, Tisha B'Av, and the nafkamina is just for Havdalah. Phil, you were in the shiur just now, so you heard it.
Yes,
But
yes.
basically, the Tisha B'Av this year is regular. We just change the Havdalah. We don't do Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos. We say bracha on the Ner without bracha on the Besamim, and then on Motzei Shabbat we do the second bracha. There is a story in the Gemara, very interesting, but I would like to start with a question. You know that a lot of also halachot of the Avelut of the 3 weeks are based. Rav Soloveitchik stated it out explicitly, but it's written in Rishonim and Geonim, are based on Ilchot Avelum. You know that Rav Soloveitchik's Shita, Brisker Shita, was to find out all the halachot. He understood that there is one Beit Av, one father to all the halachot, and it couldn't be that we have just details here and there. And Chazal said that in the 3 weeks you do this, and 10 days you do this, 7 days you do this, and then Erev Tisha B'Av this, and Tisha B'Av that. So he understood that there must be a sequence. He understood that it's based on Ilchot Avelut, and since we know that when Chas v'Sholem a person dies, so we have the Aninus, the first day, till he gets buried, that the mishpacha has to be occupied with his burial, and therefore they are not permitted in even saying brachot. It's a machloket whether they are not permitted or can say, but they're exempt from brachot. Later on, they have avelut. Then they have the first day. Gemara says dinim, especially for the first day, like anachat filin. We know that anachat filin, it's not clear whether it's also 3 days or one day. La'alacha we say one day, and we'll speak about it later. And then we have 3 days related to some halachot. Let's say that the ovel is very poor. He has to work for his salary, so he can go out after 3 days. But 3 days he is specializing in avelut. Later on, you have 7 days, and then we have the dinim. After the shiva is over, we have 30 days, 30 yom of avelut. And then we have just on Abba Ve'ima, we have 12 months, okay? So Rav Soloveitchik understood that the Avelut of the 3 weeks goes, but on the contrary, it starts from the 12 months, and then we have Rosh Chodesh, we have the 30 days, and then on Erev Tisha B'Av, or the Shavua Shechal Bo, we are mamash like the Shiva, and on, no, sorry, Shavua Shechal Bo, it's still 30 days, and then on the Tisha B'Av itself, it's the Shiva mamash. The question is that we don't find in Shiva any leniency. We find the leniency with the last day. We say Miktzat Hayom Kekulo. We don't count 7 full days. We have some leniencies because of Shabbat, but we don't shorten the period of time from 7 days. And the question is, why do we do it with Tisha B'Av? Because on Zman HaMincha, we find that some halachot are over. Let's say we can sit on a chair, we wear tefillin, we wear talit. According to the Ashkenazic halacha, based on the Maharam Rothenburg, we put on tefillin and the talit on mincha. We don't do it on shachrit because according to some halachot it is different. We'll speak about it later. And we, as I said, we sit on a chair, we say Nachem, and the Rama brings from the Midrash that because HaKadosh Baruch Hu hitil et chamato al ha'etzim ve'avanim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, instead of burning chas v'sholom human beings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu just was nifra, took the bill from woods and stones. Okay, so it's not clear. If you mourn for woods and stones, so what is the whole story about? And if it's the story is story because it's Beit HaMikdash, so why do you think that you have to change it in the Mincha? And the question is bigger even because the Zman HaMincha, the Gemara says explicitly that the time that the Beit HaMikdash was burnt, okay? So the Gemara says that that's when they started burning him, that it was burned till the 10th. So why does, at the same time, you do the opposite? So there is a famous Midrash, and the Midrash is brought with a story. I think it was Avimi, the Amora Avimi. His father asked him to bring him a kos mayim, a cup of water. He was very old, ill, and he asked him to bring him a cup of water. And then he goes, but till he comes, his father falls asleep. You know, a dement person that in dementia, and you come, you don't know. So Avimi doesn't know what to do because he doesn't want to go and learn. It's kibudav to bring him the kos, that the cup of water that he had asked for, but he doesn't want to stay the whole day. His father is asleep, so he was staying with a cup in his hand like this, and then suddenly his father woke up and spoke about a mizmor in Perek Ein Tet in Tehillim, a mizmor which is very, very relevant to our generation, unfortunately, with October 7th. מזמור לאסף, אלוקים, באו גויים בנחלתך, טימאו את נחלתך, הפכו את ירושלים לאיים. Okay, they burnt the cities, they raped, they took hostages, they killed, they damaged, everything mamash. So the Gemara, the Midrash asks, מזמור לאסף? Okay, the מזמור is מיוחס to one of the sons of Korach. Okay, because we know that it's written in Bamidbar, that in Shmot, that Korach hu Avi Asaf, and from then on the Midrash understands from Divrei Yamim that Asaf is the sons of Korach. Okay, so there are a lot of mizmorim around Ein Chet, Ein Tet, Ein Zayin. They're all by the sons of Korach, and this is one of them. So the Gemara asks, Mizmor le'asaf? Kina le'asaf miba elei? Anything he says is just very, very bad. So why he's praising Hashem? Why he's giving a song of praise? So the Gemara answers, no. מזמור לאסף שהקדוש ברוך הוא הטיל את חמתו בעצים ובאבנים. So that's the מקור, that's the source for the Ramaz drasha that we just saw in Tafkuf Nunchet, in Siman Tafkuf Nunchet. But why? Sometimes you have to understand the location of the story, because we have Avimi bringing a cup of water to his father, waiting till he wakes up in order to fulfill the mitzvah, and then he wakes up and says the droshe. So if the Gemara is interested in the droshe, why does the Gemara have to bring the whole story? So I heard from Rav Meir Lichtenstein that there is something unique in this midrash, and the Gemara states out that it was in a unique situation, because we know it a lot nowadays that we treat, old people, old father, old mother, old brother, old sister, and some of them are in dementia, and you don't know. Sometimes in the hospital, you don't know whether they're awakened, not awakened. He spoke about his father, Reb Aaron Lichtenstein, the big Reb Aaron Lichtenstein, and he says that he lost even his honor, that a professor called him Aaron, because he sees the name Aaron Lichtenstein, so he calls him Aaron. Nobody in his whole life called him Aaron in his first name. And he said that he was speaking, Reb Aaron didn't care, because he was a big honor, humble. But with him there was a non-religious professor of chemistry, and the same thing happened, and his daughter was heartbroken, because she said, my father was never called, he was always called the professor to professor this, professor that, and he doesn't know how to, he loses his honor just being called in his explicit name. And that's he said, Brian, you're a doctor, so give it over to others. He said that some of the doctors should he said that he gave it as a piece of advice to a psychologist, a friend of his that deals with a lot of doctors, in order to tell some of them to honor as a patient with this, to call him, to ask him, how do you want to be called? But never mind. So he said his father and the professor of chemistry were both in a situation that they were old people with a lot of ache, a lot of pain, and they lose who they are. And Avimi, treating his father, wants to fulfill Kibud Avayim. But on the other hand, the father falls asleep. Should I wake him up? Should I be like Dama Benetin, I don't wake him up? Okay, so you have a lot of dilemmas, and in such a case of treating old people, or treating old father, or treating old mother, etc., you have a dilemma. Why is it all about? Why did Hashem make that? Why didn't Hashem take them and prevented them from losing their honor, from why does Hashem give us a conflict? Because of the modern medicine, we can bring to life a lot of people that years ago were never in such a situation. And who said that it's good? Maybe Hashem is not interested in that. So what do we do with it? Why didn't Hashem take them? Why does Hashem let them lose their covered, etc.? And then Avimi is the same dilemma. And then his father wakes up and speaks exactly about the same dilemma. Because once you see Beit HaMikdash is burned, you might get into it's at the end of the game. We have to understand, each time I say it, but we are, after 2,000 years, are not affected by anything. Let's say that we had October 7th, but it wasn't as bad as the Holocaust, okay? So the most of the thing, you can say that it was one day in the Holocaust, okay? And even that, there is a discussion whether to compare it, not to compare it, etc. Baruch Hashem, okay? But after 2,000 years, nothing would mislead us because we've seen everything. But looking in Yirmiyahu, looking at the door of the Churban, they simply saw it as a one-way ticket. They understood that once we entered Eretz Israel, we never get out of it. It's not the second Churban that we have all the stories in the Gemara. I'm talking about the first Churban. Yirmiyahu's generation, they understand that it's impossible, and they perceive Yirmiyahu as talking nonsense. They don't believe it could be that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would fulfill Bitzah Hashem Emrato, what we say in Eicha. We say it, but they said it with astonishment. How is it possible that Hashem had fulfilled what he had promised? It's impossible. So it's impossible. HaKadosh Baruch Hu cannot do it. And then you have a dilemma. Okay, the Mikdash is burnt. We get into frustration. We get into depression. We get into what we see in Baba Batra of Samech, that they said, okay, Beit HaMikdash Charev, we won't eat meat anymore. Beit HaMikdash Charev, we won't eat wine anymore. So אמר להם מישהו, להתאבל כל הזמן אי אפשר. שלא להתאבל בכלל, גם אי אפשר. So we have to find symbols. Okay, you create a Suda of marriage, so you lack one תבשיל. The kala has כך וכך תכשיטים, jewelry, so okay, without one. Okay, in days that it was significant. But it's very clear that we have to learn to look at a situation with two eyes. One eye on the evil, on the bad things that happened. One eye on the good. And that's the basic lekach, okay, outcome of the Churban. the same moment that it's burnt. We don't say that it's not choshuv or it's not significant or that just now we have we saw something that we didn't see before. But once it's burned, that's the psychological moment to look to zoom out of you and to check out that you are not just looking on the evil, on the bad things, that there is another eye, good eye. There are a lot of things to do. You see an old person suffering. He asks you for, he cannot grasp his hand and take a cup of water. Okay, he asks you, and then he is not even awake enough to be awakened when you come back. You should be frustrated. How does Abba, that I've known him so many years, how does he do it? But then tells Avimi, no, look at the good things. Till now he has stayed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given him a lot of years to live. Till now. So it's not that we reduce the Churban. We do look at the Churban, that once the Churban is over, then in order not to get to be shattered to pieces, you have to be scattered to pieces. You have to look at the good things in life. The same thing happens with David HaMelech himself, because David HaMelech himself, once he was punished by Natan HaNavi, so because of Chet Batsheva and Uriah Hitti, so he's told him explicitly, you have 4 things that you'll pay, Arba'atayim Yeshalem, like the Mashal of Kivsat Arash. But then his son dies, and David mourns, prays and prays and prays and prays. The moment he dies, David HaMelech has a shower, so everybody asks him, what's going on? And he says, till now I tried, I just looked at the bad things. I'm telling it in my words. I try to prevent the tragedy. Once it happened, I don't reduce, but it's over. And I'm now dealing not with a tragedy, but with going on in life. Going in life has to combine either the tragedy or having a shower. So the same thing happens in Tisha B'Av. Now I want to go backwards. I spoke about the last moment of Tisha B'Av and the combination and the situation in the Gemara. That's why the Gemara discusses קנאה לאסף מבעלי והקדוש ברוך הוא פרע את חמתו מעצים ואבנים, including the story of Avim and his father. Now let's go back to the din of tefillin. As I said, there is a machloket whether אבלות של יום ראשון היא מהתורה או לא מהתורה. From the Rif, from the Rambam, I think from the Geonim themselves, it sounds as the avelut of Yom Rishon is me'deoraita. And therefore, since it is, you have a contrast between 2 values. You have one mitzvah deoraita l'niach tefillin and mitzvah deoraita to be avel, and it's postponed and therefore you don't meniach tefillin. But according to a lot of Rishonim, Tosfot and others, it's just midirabonon. And the question is what happens in Tisha B'Av, because Tisha B'Av cannot be better than Tisha B'Av is from Torah. It's not Torah, it's the Rabbanon, Divrei Kabbalah maybe, but not more than that. So how is it possible that it has Isur of Laniach Tefillin? It doesn't appear in the Mishnah. The Mishnah in Ta'anit says a lot of things about Tisha B'Av, but doesn't say anything about Anichat Tefillin. It appears in the Yerushalmi, but not in the Mishnah. It comes from the Rishonim, but not in the Mishnah. So where does it come from? So the Yerushalmi says that we have a posuk in Megillat Eicha that we put pe'er tachat efer, or lasum la'avelei Tzion pe'er tachat efer. It's just a pun, because the same words, the same letters, pe'er and efer. Efer is, sorry, what's the word? Pardon? Ash. Okay.
Yeah, ashes.
Ashes. Okay.
Ashes.
And pe'er is glory, majesty, something like this. So the tefillin are called pe'er. וראו כל עמי הארץ כי שם השם נקרא עליך, ויראו ממך. There is a famous story, about the Shagat Aryeh. That one time the Shagat Aryeh was wearing tefillin, and some policemen, where he was in Poland, I think. So they came and to caught him, and they saw him, and they disappeared. They were frightened by his tefillin, and they disappeared. And he was around him. There were some people from his shul, and one of the people he was גנב, כן, מבריח מכס, a tax how do you say,
Evader.
smuggler. Okay, a person that doesn't pay taxes. So they
He was
came.
a tax evader.
Pardon?
That's called tax evasion, a tax evader.
Oh, okay. Tax
Evade.
evader. Thank you. So they came to him, and he was wearing a tefillin, and they didn't care. They took him, the policeman. So he asked the Shagas Aryeh, how is it possible that they are frightened of your tefillin barosh, and they are not frightened of my tefillin shebarosh? So the Shagat Aryeh told him, it's not tefillin shel rosh, it's tefillin shebarosh. It's not just the cubes on your head that they are frightened of. When I wear, says the Shagat Aryeh, it affects the whole head, the whole figure they're afraid of. But just to put on kubiyot, cubes, it doesn't make anything. So, but in any case, the tefillin shebarosh symbolize the HaKadosh Baruch Hu dwells on us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sits. Okay, the Gemara says in Brachot Vav, what's written in our tefillin? Al HaKadosh Baruch Hu. כן, קדש לי כל בכור. What's written in the tefillin of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? ומי כעמך ישראל גוי אחד בארץ. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks about us, we talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and by putting the tefillin, we talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu dwells on us, and that's why we have Hashrat Shechina, and that's why we have tefillin shebarosh. We have somebody looking at us, and he's afraid because he sees HaKadosh Baruch Hu is negle on us. Therefore, there are shitot. You know that in Anachat Tefillin on Tisha B'Av there are at least 5 shitot. The Sfaradim put on Tefillin. The Ashkenazim don't put on Tefillin, they put on Mincha. There is one Bet El Minag and one to put just Tefillin Shel Yad, not to put Tefillin Shel Rosh. And a lot of Minagim not to put it all the day, even in Mincha not to put. Okay? So if you say that it's din of aninut, okay? As I said, with Rav Soloveitchik, we have 12 months, we have 30 days, we have 7 days, we have the day of the Ptira, which is a day of aninut, okay? So then I am osur leaniach tefillin, okay? Because I'm dealing with a met. Okay, so if I understand that, I might understand that I don't put on tefillin. But after minche, okay, then no longer do I have to see just the corp instead of me. I have to look on the bigger picture of how to go on and all the psychological effects of mourning, etc. And therefore, I have to go on as we said before. But if we say like as I said, that the tefillin of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a tefillin shebarosh, so then we have a distinction between tefillin shebayad and tefillin shebarosh. Tefillin shebayad is our mitzvah to put. Tefillin shebarosh is hofa'ah, an appearance of HaKadosh Baruch Hu on us. Usually we put them both, and according to the Sfaradim, we don't even say 2 brachot, we say just 1 brachot on the whole thing. But it's 2 different appearances. The first one is just a mitzvah. As you take a lulav and rock it, so you put on tefillin because that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu said. The kubiyah on tefillin shebarosh symbolizes Shem Hashem nikra alecha. Therefore, his appearance is a simcha. Is something which is not related to Tisha B'Av. Avel, in any Avelut, sometimes you come to Bet Avel and he really cries and in a very bad mood. Sometimes they speak jokes between themselves, and okay, that's 2 attitudes to confront mourning. That's fine, but you won't see Avel who is vain. Okay, If you see a mourner who is vain, who starts speaking about himself and how big he is, and then something is wrong with him. Okay, so I can understand that on Tisha B'Av we have Din Avinut. I can understand that in Tisha B'Av it's what's I didn't get into it, but what Rishonim says, what the Gemara says, Avelut Yeshana, and since it's just a matter that happened like 2,000 years ago, nobody expects you to be so deeply mourning. Okay, and it's very meduyak in the Rambam. If you look at the Rambam several times in Ilchot Tisha B'Av says, ערב תשעה באב בסעודה מפסקת, לא יאכל אדם בשר ולא ישתה יין, okay? And then he says, Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai, it's Mishnah מפורשת, but he says, Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai was sitting on the floor and eating just bread, and כמי שמתו מוטל לפניו. Okay, that's לשון המשנה. The Rambam, if you look at the Rambam, it's very clear that the din lechol adam is a normal din. You don't have to sit on the floor. You don't have to eat just bread. You can eat normal food. Just eat salad, but don't eat too tafshili. That's it. Okay, be normal. Lachachamim, for those who are more than the average person, and they are capable of mourning more than the average person, then they have an extra. Okay, they cannot permit themselves to do anything. And that was midah of Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai. So the Gemara doesn't say that you can behave like Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai and sit on the floor. According to the Rambam, it's two dinim. It's a din of everybody's, and it's a din of the Chachamim. So the normal person cannot be connected to what happened 2,000 years ago. At the most, what he can do, he can, as in Purim, he puts a mask. So in Tisha B'Av, he puts a mask. And he knows, I don't eat today, I don't drink today, I don't have Sicha, I don't have Tefillin, I don't have Shelat Shalom, whatever. I don't learn Torah. Okay, so I behave like with a mask. Today is a different day. That's for the most of the people. Just the Chachamim, they don't put on Tefillin Bichlal. Why? Because they understand that the tefillin is the appearance of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And how can you appear with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu on you on Tisha B'Av? As I said, you can mourn, you can decide that it's too much for you, it's been years ago and you do just what you are asked to, you are no more than that, but you cannot do it, you cannot wear tefillin shel rosh, because tefillin shel rosh gives you the argasha, the feeling that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still on you, you're still happy, you have Ashgachat Shechina. So the minimum that we do on Tisha B'Av is to feel that we lack of Ashgachat Shechina. So just to sum up, the whole point of the tefillah is to sit in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rav Soloveitchik says in The Lonely Man of Faith and in other places as well, that's the main goal of the tefillah, without dividing it into three parts of shevach, bakasha, voda. Just the main goal of tefillah is standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Tisha B'Av we have a posuk in Eicha, satam tefillati, my tefillah is blocked. So we don't have the feeling of standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that must be symbolized in Tefillin Shel Rosh. And therefore, there is a minhag to differentiate between Tefillin Shel Rosh and Tefillin Shel Yad. Because according to this minhag, you should put on Tefillin Shel Yad because it's an old minhag. What you shouldn't do is just to put the crown of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and decide that you behave like every day is life. Okay? But after the Ashkenazic minhag, back to the Ashkenazic minhag, after Minche, that according to the Ashkenazic minhag, we put on even Tefillin Shel Rosh, we do say that psychologically, if we want to go on, the Evel has its own part, but it's just one eye. The other eye is kept for the future, for the hope, for the crown, and then we have to behave as if HaKadosh Baruch Hu still dwells on us. We have the crown, and even then, even on Tisha B'Av, after Chatzot Hayom, we do wear tefillin, even Shel Rosh. May we all be blessed, Bezrat Hashem, that the Tisha B'Av, we won't have it, and the Beit HaMikdash will be built, and we'll have all the crowns of Am Yisrael that were taken from them, all the simcha that is taken from us, in the recent years, and all the chamitzut, sourness that we have, the bitterness, all the things that mamash, we feel the galus Shechina, as so we all feel Bezrat Hashem, all the chatufim will come back, all the happiness will come back to Am Israel, and we'll all together build the Beit HaMikdash and feel united, and with the crowns of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His Hashgacha. להתראות.
אמן.
Hashem.
כך.
לילה טוב.
ערב טוב.
לילה טוב.